Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to do Unit 2 of Class 9, that is Physical Features of India. You know, India is such a vast country that within a few hours of travel, the land keeps changing its face. Some places are completely flat and some places are full of mountains. In some places, you see sand everywhere, and somewhere you suddenly find deep forest and island in the middle of the sea. So when we talk about the physical features of India, we actually talking about this beautiful variety in nature. Alright, let's begin our journey from the top of the northern part of India. Imagine you are flying close to the sky and suddenly a huge wall of mountains stand in front of you. That is a tall and almost touching the clouds. That is Himalayas. They are not just mountains, they are like the guardians of India, protecting us from the icy winds of Central Asia and giving birth to the great rivers that sustain life in India. These mountains stretch continuously from the Indus in the west to the Brahmaputra in the east, around 2400 km long. Just think, if we start walking from Kashmir and walk all the way to Arunachal Pradesh, we will still be inside the Himalayas. And what makes these mountains special is that they are still young and geologically young. That's why they are so high and so sharp and so powerful that rivers rush down from them at a great speed. Now, when we look closely, we see three layers of Himalaya stacked one behind the other. The first is the Himadri, right at the top, and this is the tallest range and always covered with snow, and inside it lie the world's highest peaks. It feels like a kingdom of snow. The glaciers sitting here quietly melt and create the great rivers such as Ganga, Yamuna, Brahmaputra, and rivers that carry life across the plains. And just below it comes Himachal, and this is the range where the mountains are lower but more beautiful. Valleys like Kashmir, Kangra are found here. If Himadri is like a king, Himachal is like the princess. That is the full of beauty, greenery, and hill stations like Simla and Manali where people go to breathe peace. And finally at the base we have the Shivaliks. That is, you can see here. This is. And smaller hills made from loose stones and sand brought by rivers. Between these hills and Himachal, there are deep valleys called dunes like Dehradun, and many of us have heard of it through stories of military training and schools. Yes, that is right inside these foothills. But the Himalayas are not the same everywhere. As we move from the west to east, they keep changing character. Like people of different states, mountains also have different styles. That is Punjab Himalaya, Kumaon Himalaya, Nepal Himalaya, Assam Himalaya, and then they bend down sharply to the Purvachal in the northeast. These northeastern hills, that is Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, are full of dense forest, tribes and culture, and they look completely different from Himalayan snow peaks. So, to remember, the Himalayas are not just a physical barrier, they are a source of rivers, forest, biodiversity, rainfall and natural protection. They decide our climate, agriculture, even our historical civilization. Now, imagine those huge rivers coming down from mountains, that is Ganga, the Indus and Brahmaputra. When fast water from the mountains enters the flatland, its speed slows down and it begins to deposit soil it carries. And over millions of years, these soils created the northern plains, one of the most fertile lands on earth. If I say it simply, this is a region that feeds India. That's why we call it the granary of India. This plain stretch from the Punjab all the way to Assam, around 2400 km long. Dense population, rich agriculture, transport, trade, big cities and everything began here. The early civilization like Harappa grew here because food, water, transport, everything was available. And even inside these plains, nature has drawn fine lines. At the foothills of Shivalik, Bhabar, where rivers disappear into pebbles. And just south of it, Terai, swampy and full of wildlife. Further, Bangar means older alluvium, and the closest river, that is Kadar, and the new soil deposited every year, and this is the real heart of the agriculture. These points should be remembered, okay? Keep it in the mind, that is Kankar, Kadar and Bangar, okay? Let's move to south. Imagine suddenly the flatland rising up into a huge table, that is the Peninsular Plateau, one of the oldest land masses on the earth. It is full of minerals, that is coal, iron, manganese, and the backbone of Indian industries. It has two main parts, that is the Central Highland and the Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau looks like an inverted triangle, that is higher in the west and sloping eastward, which is why rivers like Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri flow towards the Bay of Bengal. On the left side we have Western Ghats, that is tall and continuous, blocking winds and forcing rainfall. That's why Kerala and Western Karnataka receive so much of rain. On the right side, Eastern Ghats, that is broken and low. And inside the plateau lies the Deccan Trap, and that is the volcanic rocks which broke into black soil, and today it grows the best cotton in India. And inside the plateau lies the Deccan Tract, and that is the volcanic rocks which broke into black soil, and today it grows the best cotton in India. Next is Indian desert. Now moving further west, suddenly everything disappears. That is no trees, no rivers, and only golden sand. This is the Thar desert, where life survives only because people have learned how to fight nature. The wind shapes sand dunes and especially birchans, and the only major river is Luni. When this plateau meets the sea, we get narrow coastal strips, that is Konkan, Kannad, Malabar on the west, and the northern Sarkar and Coromandel on the east. And then finally far into the sea lie the two island groups, that is Lakshadweep, that is the coral islands, tiny but beautiful, and Andaman and Nicobar, that is big, forested, and strategically important with the climate similar to the equator. Now look at the complete picture. Every physical region of India is like an organ of the body. That is, Himalaya gives water and protection, and northern plains gives the food, and plateaus gives minerals and industries, and desert gives potential for solar and wind energy, and coastal and island give ports, trade, and navy. Together they make India complete. And that's it for today's class. In this unit, I did not explain the names of the rivers or certain specific places, since I have already highlighted those parts in the book, so you can simply highlight them in the same way in your own book. And there are some facts that do not require explanation. Once you read them, you will understand them on your own. During your second reading or revision, you only need to read the highlighted portions. There is no need to go through everything again. That is why I highlighted only the important points and gave you an overall understanding through the explanation. That itself is more than sufficient. Also make sure to remember key facts like the names of peaks. For example, the highest peak in Western Ghats, that is Anaimudi, and followed by Dodabetta, and Mahendragiri is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats. And these are the important points that you should remember, and even though I did not explain them in detail during the lecture because they can be easily understood by reading your textbook. Explaining such straightforward information would only waste valuable time. So please read them from the book independently and do not spend extra time unnecessarily. I will upload the next unit in the coming days. Until then, like, share and subscribe to my channel.